Nettie with more tips on healthy houseplants. So I have 5 tips about Crotons today. So Crotons is a great houseplant. It's a foliage houseplant with colorful leaves, and there's a few things you need to know to keep this plant happy and healthy. First is water. The Croton is a plant that needs a lot of moisture. So some plants like to dry out totally between watering, not so with the Croton plant. This plant likes to keep moisture most of the time. It's okay if maybe the top inch dries out, but you don't want all of this soil to become dry. So in most homes, about once a week, you're going to water this plant. And when you water the plant, you want to water it like this until you see that there's water that's going to come out from the bottom of the drainage holes. Do not use soil from your yard. You want to make sure and use soil that is potting soil so that it holds the moisture and has organic matter in it. Now, the next thing about watering is this. Crotons need high humidity. That means they like a lot of moisture in the air. So I'm growing this plant on a tray. I can put pebbles on this tray. Look at those roots coming out. That's a really good sign. I can, so that the pot doesn't constantly sit in water, but it's slightly raised above the water. Or I can do another trick for high humidity, and that is I can come along and mist it. Mist those leaves. I mean, you practically can't mist too much. It's a rather relaxing habit and a great way to enjoy your houseplants is to mist them. These are broadleaf jungle plants in the wilds. They like lots of rainfall. They look beautiful when they're misted. Another way to increase the humidity is to add more plants nearby. Picking up a little bit of the orange colors, add an orchid that likes high humidity, add a little spider plant so that they're grown in a group. Crotons especially like the company of other plants. Now, after watering, I want to talk about our second tip, and that is sunlight. So, sunlight is important for the Croton, and this is where it gets a little bit tricky. It doesn't want sun hitting the leaves. You can't have a Croton right next to a window with the sun coming in and hitting the leaves. That will give you scorch marks on the leaves. However, if the plant does not get enough light, the first thing that's going to happen, the lower leaves are going to drop off. Lack of light. The next thing you're going to see is the leaves that were colorful, that beautiful striping of orange and yellow. The leaves are going to turn green instead. Not enough sunlight to change the color of the leaves. It's okay if you have a low light situation and you don't mind the leaves turning green, but just know, especially if you see the lower leaves dropping, that the plant wants more bright light. So move it either closer to a window, an east-facing window is perfect, or even a north-facing window, as long as the sun doesn't hit those beautiful leaves. Now, how to reproduce and how you know when a Croton needs repotting. You're going to see when the roots are really poking out of the bottom of the pot, that's when you need to repot the Croton. And you can also propagate this plant by taking stem cuttings, which means you would just go ahead and snip off the top of the plant if it's getting too large, strip off some lower leaves, poke it into moist potting soil, and you'll get the plant will root quite easily that way. If fertilizing this plant, fertilize only in the spring or summer when it's actively growing. You don't want to fertilize in the winter. That's when the plant is having a little bit of a rest. And you'll also notice in the winter that this house plant needs less water than it does in the spring or the summer. I like to use a slow release plant food like Osmocote so it won't burn these beautiful leaves, and use any fertilizer you have, use it at half the recommended strength. You want to under-fertilize rather than over-fertilize when it comes to houseplants. And now finally, cleaning this plant. Croton is one of these plants that is susceptible to spider mites. So it is a good idea to mist often the undersides of the leaves as well as the top. That will keep the leaves clean and so it doesn't get spider mite. You'll know if you have spider mite when you see teeny tiny little webbings like in the crotches of the plants, and that's your sign that, okay, this plant needs more humidity. High humidity keeps the spider plants away. if you do happen to see infestation of spider mites or scale or aphid or any kind of insect, a very easy cure is a soft cloth and mild soapy water, and simply wash each leaf and then wipe with a damp cloth, and that'll get rid of all the insects, keep your plant happy and healthy so it can give back to you by cleaning the air. One last thing, if you happen to have pets and young children, this is not a plant you want them to chew on. It can be slightly toxic to humans and animals, so no chewing on your croton plant. It's been Mary Ann Benetti with easy answers for great gardens.